Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Cafe Bagheri. The holiday season here in America is right around the corner. Thanksgiving, which is one of my absolute most favorite holidays, is almost here. And so, you know, our family loves Persian food and a lot of the festive Persian kebabs. And of course, the traditional American Thanksgiving menu with turkey and all the sides are absolutely wonderful, and we look forward to it every year. So this year I thought, how can I put these two together, the best of both worlds, and fuse them, if you will, come up with something really nice. So I looked around and checked around, and guess what? I think I've got it. Turducken Koobideh Kabob. Now, those of you who don't know what turducken is a southern tradition in the U.S. where they combine those three types of birds, turkey, duck, chicken, and it's just a notch above regular Thanksgiving dinner. So stick around and I'll show you how you can make a Turducken Koobideh Kabob, and it's going to change your Thanksgiving forever. For the Turducken Koobideh Kabob, we started with our original Koobideh, which is made with beef or lamb, and just substituted the meat. Instead of lamb or beef, we're using turkey, duck, and chicken. The proportions and amount of each loosely corresponds to the size of a turkey and a chicken and a duck in the turducken formula. Now I guess would be best time to explain to you what turducken is. In a lot of usually mostly southern part of United States, this tradition has evolved where instead of just frying or roasting a turkey, what they do is they take a turkey and a duck and a chicken. They stuff the chicken inside of the duck and the duck inside of the turkey. Most people debone the chicken and the duck to make room for all the stuffing and make it work. And then mostly that's deep fried. I have never tried turducken, but I can tell you our Turducken Koobideh is wonderful. It's going to become one of your favorites. So what I have here is a pound of ground turkey. I just bought pre-ground turkey. As you can see, you can get turkey breast and grind it yourself. This is about a pound. And it's 1 part turkey, half a part chicken, half a part duck. Duck's kind of expensive, but you can find it in specialty stores or in upper end grocery stores. This is a duck breast, and I would consider duck kind of like a red meat or pink meat as opposed to the white meat of turkey and chicken breast. I keep the skin on the duck because I like the flavor and gaminess that it gives our turducken. So it's 1 pound of turkey, half a pound of duck, and I have a couple of small chicken thighs that I have skinned and deboned that I use for this mixture. Why chicken thigh? Because it's juicier and has more fat, and it adds a better flavor. There it is. Although my turkey is already ground, I need to grind up the duck and the chicken. I would simply cut them into smaller chunks so that they can be fed into my grinder. As you know, the original Koobideh recipe is 80-20 meat and fat. I have some chicken and duck fat on these pieces, but it doesn't amount to 20% of the entire chicken and duck. So what we're gonna do here to make up for that, I just add some beef fat that I have saved from previous cooking projects. Specifically right here, I have some fat that I took out of top sirloin that I use for chenje kebab. You can use brisket fat if you're someone who smokes or cooks brisket, or your steaks. When you trim the fat, you can save it and freeze it, and then use it with your chicken or with your duck and chicken for turducken. You can also go to your butcher or your grocery store and ask for duck fat. If they have duck fat, you can put, instead of beef fat, you can use all of the 20% with duck fat. I've never done that, but I suppose it will be pretty tasty. It's not going to be bad. Duck fat is pretty tasty. There we are. So we have 80% of our bird meat, which is turkey, duck, and chicken, is just meat and some fat. And by weight, I've already weighted all of this, kind of adds up giving you an 80-20 turducken. Okay, so let's get started grinding our meat. So we're also going to cut up our fat that we're going to add into the grinder. About 1/2 inch to 1 inch in size. Okay, we're going to grind the meat. Just like our traditional regular Koobideh Kabob, we're going to grind it twice, right? We're going to make with the plate that has bigger holes first and do our, as you can see, I've cut the fat up, chicken, duck, and our turkey was already ground once because I bought ground turkey. So I'm going to grind everything, including the pre-ground turkey once, and then I'm going to change the plate to the smaller holes and do a second time. That gives you a better consistency for your kebab. It's easier to eat, and the flavor melds better when you have it double ground. I use my hand, but this little pusher helps getting everything in there more effectively. Okay, our first grind is done. We're gonna go shred our onion because we're gonna add onion and spices and do a second grind and we'll be ready. As you can see, I have 1/2 a large onion, or you can use a medium onion, whole medium onion. White or yellow onion will work. We're gonna shred this. If you have a food processor, you can throw it in a food processor. I just prefer a box shredder like this. For 2 pounds of meat, you need about 100 grams of shredded and juiced onion. What we're going to do is, once this onion is shredded, we're going to get rid of most of its moisture. And the onion flakes left will be about 100 grams. There you go. We're going to get all of this off from inside and out. You can use a cheesecloth or a colander of some kind, strainer of some kind, or you can do just that. Look at this. Just push on the shredded onion and get rid of the onion juice into a bowl. This is our shredded onions. By weight, this is about 8 to 10% of our total meat and fat that we're using for this kebab. So this is how much yield we got from that medium, that 1/2 of large onion. So now we're gonna mix everything together. This is our first grind of turkey, duck, and chicken. We're gonna put the onion in there. There you have it. And now we're gonna add our spices. This is salt, regular fresh ground black pepper. If we have white pepper, it would work too. For turducken, we have a couple of new additions. We have some smoked paprika, and we have some chipotle chili peppers, ground chipotle pepper. If you like more heat, you can use cayenne, but use it very conservatively because cayenne is considerably hotter. You can use Aleppo pepper, but we like chipotle. It has that kind of bit of extra smoke in it. And then, of course, our beloved saffron solution. I have in the recipe in several of my videos how to make this. This is optional for turducken because of its Thanksgiving nature. Plus, saffron is a bit expensive, so you can eliminate it and it won't take anything away from this kebab. Putting saffron in it will elevate it just a notch. And I have saffron, but you don't have to use it if you don't want to. We use about a couple of tablespoons. That's 1, and that's 2. All right? So now, mixing this to make sure everything is well distributed is even more important than the original koobideh, because now you have 3 different kinds of meat and the fat, and you want to make sure that everything gets well distributed, right? Before we do the second grind, I suggest that you give it an initial mix like so. As you can see, the color of saffron in this mix right now, actually, funny thing, it serves as indicator of how well you've mixed everything, right? When everything is consistently yellow, you know you've got all of your different meats and everything well mixed into here. I think we're well mixed at this point for going to the second grind. Okay, we're going to change our grinder plate to the finer one. The one we just took off has bigger holes. These are pea size, as they call them, and these are matchstick size, a little bigger than matchstick, but you can see what's going on. Like any other recipe, it's completely okay if you want to make this your own, just like you do with your Thanksgiving turkey. If you like thyme or rosemary or other herbs and spices that are maybe not as traditional with Thanksgiving turkey, but you happen to like that flavor, this recipe lends itself completely to add in other touches. Instead of the beef fat or duck fat, you could chop up some bacon, about 10% to 20% bacon, and add bacon instead of fat. That would be unhinged, don't you think so? Now, when I was growing up, when my mom or dad were grinding up meat for kebabs or different dishes, at the end, in order to clean the inside of the meat grinder and push all the meat out, they would tear up a couple of pieces of stale bread and throw it in there. And the bread would kind of collect all the meat that's left in the grinder and push it through and then come out this end. And then what they would do is increase the speed a little bit to push out everything that's in the path. And then they would pick up the few pieces of bread that are at the top at the end of your grind. I just don't have any stale bread, and I'm not going to do that. But that's one technique that you can do to kind of initially clean your grinder before you disassemble and wash it. So we're done with our second grind. What we're going to do here is simply to give this another thorough mix, maybe a couple of minutes. What we're going to do is we're going to cover this, put it in the fridge, anywhere between 4 to 24 hours. So this is something you can make the day before your party, like the night before Thanksgiving, and then put it on skewers and cook it right before your party. we had our meat mixture chilled for about 4 hours now. Now this is kind of firmed up from the fridge. We just give it a couple of mixes, kind of turn it over itself a few times to kind of get it to let go and become a little flexible so you can work with it, right? I have a couple of pounds, which is about 1,000 grams, 1 kilogram, a little more than kilogram, so it's more than a couple of pounds. I'm going to divide this by 10 portions, and each portion goes on one of these skewers. These are wider skewers so that they can transfer more heat to your kebab from the inside, as you can see. They're about 1 inch wide, like so. And now these are the regular kebab skewers that we've seen. We use them for tomatoes today, grilled tomatoes, but this is the Koobideh ground meat kebab skewers, Koobideh skewer, 1 inch wide. So I'm gonna kind of visually split this into 10 portions. If you were a restaurant operator who did this day in and day out, you pretty much get a visual idea of how much you're gonna pick up and put on your skewer. But if you do this once a month or twice a month, obviously it's gonna be easier to kind of divide it, pre-divide it, so you know how much you're taking. So I am going to have split this in half, and each half is 5 portions. So I'm going to start taking away a portion like so. Starting 3 inches from the top of the skewer, I put the portion of ground meat on there. Why 3 inches? Average grill, charcoal or gas grill, the heat elements are about, I would say, 3 to 4 inches from each side. So this will make sure that the meat is going to be right in the middle where the heat is radiating against the meat. So that's what we're doing. Also have, as you can see, I have a bowl of lukewarm water. In Iran, they call this abdast, which is literally translates to hand water. What it does, it prevents the meat mixture to stick to your hand. Look at that, see? So you get that little barrier. The first thing you do before you worry about the shape and presentation of the meat, you kind of use your fingers to push down the meat, kind of distribute it down the skewer evenly. There you go, you get about 8 or 9 inches in length, right? Then you go down and give it the traditional Koobideh markings. Your hand is open and you're using only the thumb and the second finger. Some people use the second finger, some people use the first one. You can do either. There you go. And then you seal, kind of push the ends so that it sticks and it doesn't let it separate. That's basic Koobideh shape. If you're doing the traditional, original beef Koobideh, you're doing it this way, and with chicken or with turducken wouldn't be any different. Look, that's what we're going for. That's one. So I'm going to eyeball another portion again. Now there's no shame in, once you have your first skewer done, there's no shame in comparing to make sure all of your skewers are standard and consistent. Because you're going to be serving them together, it's nice if they are the same size and shape. So kind of put it next to the previous one and the previous one and so on and so forth. See, I'm almost on track to have the same size There you go. Second one. All right, we have 8 Turducken Koobidehs on the skewer. I weighed a couple of these portions before we came back, and they're about between 95 to 115 grams per, which I ended up having 9 skewers worth of turduckens. So I was a little heavy-handed. It didn't turn out to be the 10 that I predicted, but that's okay. Between 9 and 10 skewers. I would think that each person should probably eat half to one of these, so it feeds somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 to 14 people, would you think?
No.
Really? You think?
1 per.
1 per.
Minimum.
Okay. Camera lady likes this turducken. Okay, I agree. So you feed about 9 to 10 people, depending on how many skewers. 1 skewer per person. All right, we'll see how many you eat tonight. Right here, maybe a couple of them? No. So the idea is like this type of marking your koobideh. You see how they're separate? Yeah, this one was larger. If I had another skewer's worth of meat, I would have separated this last part and started a new skewer. The idea is each one of these segments is 1 bite, and that's why this type of marking your koobideh is also called لقمه kebab style of koobideh, with each لقمه is 1 bite that you eat. These are standard Roma tomatoes. You need to, when you go to the market, pick the firm ones. Make sure they're firm, and then cut them from stem to the end, just in half, and each half is 1 person's portion, unless I want to. And I just put it on these 1/2-inch skewers, like so. Before you put the tomatoes on the grill, on the same fire, you want to put salt and pepper on them. And then towards the end, you can brush them with the same basting sauce, saffron, butter, and lime juice or verjuice or whatever you have in there. I do have a more involved and more complex basting sauce called Kabob in Persian that has a lot more seasoning than this one, but I think that's appropriate for traditional koobideh, not for this guy. We're ready to go out. Before we do that, I like to apply the salt and pepper in here on the tomatoes. There you go. Yeah, just put salt and pepper. Some people like garlic powder, whatever you like on your tomatoes. These tomatoes will slowly cook, and they'll create a grilled tomato taste that's a great side for any Persian kebab. And for Thanksgiving, if you make a whole bunch of these, it makes a great side next to your turkey and your, tenderloin or whatever you have, and your turducken. Our basting sauce was made while we were, while the meat was chilling. I mixed the butter, 1/2 stick of butter, with the salt and pepper and saffron solution, and then brought it briefly to a boil and turned off the heat and added the lime juice. Remember, the acid, lime, lemon juice, you don't want it to boil for too long because it gets bitter. So you first cook it with all your ingredients, and then once it's off the heat, you put the lime juice in there. I also like verjuice, which is sour grape juice. It's a very traditional Persian ingredient that's good for a lot of stuff, including the basting sauce for your kebabs. We're out here by the grill, beautiful fall afternoon. This is our 9 skewers of turducken. We have our couple of skewers, only made 8 portions of tomato for now. Remember I told you we're making a basting sauce? The basting sauce was made before all of this, and I followed the recipe. Made sure I add the lime juice at the end. But while we were putting the meat on skewers, the butter kind of congealed a little. So I'm just briefly warming it. See, I don't want to boil this. I'm just briefly warming that, because if you boil it with the lime juice in there, it's going to be bitter. Now I'm going to put it right up here for a minute while I'm putting the meat on. Just go from begin to end, one after another, as quickly as you can. The goal is to start forming a skin on all of these. You have less of a chance of the kebab, the meat falling from these skewers with chicken and turducken and your non-beef and lamb koobidehs. But nevertheless, we're going to follow the same technique. See? Once you put the last one on, you start from the first one, and if you can see, there's already a little skin forming. It's starting to cook. So you want it to kind of have that protective skin to hold it together, and that's one of the big tricks to prevent your kebab from falling off the skewer. Remember that, whether it's turducken or original koobideh, right?
You should watch the koobideh.
Oh yes, watch my koobideh video. You will see what happened when you don't pay attention. Don't get on your phone. Don't talk to people if you have party going on or whatever. So we go another 30 seconds to 45 seconds and then start over from the other end. See? Now that first side and second side both have a bit of skin, protective skin. Then you get into a cycle of turning them once every few minutes and keeping an eye. At this point, I'm going to close this for a minute and a half. Make sure the center is cooked thoroughly, right? Let's turn this. Yeah, we're getting into it now. One thing you want to make sure you observe, make sure the real estate on your grill surface is not 100% full, because what happens is flare-ups happen because we've got some fat in this meat, and you're going to have to move things around, and there are invariably hot spots in every grill. See, like over here is cooking faster, so what you can do is move them over here to avoid those flare-ups. So leave some escape routes for your skewers as you get into this. And this is when I am going to get my tomato. This is where the tomato comes in the picture. I'm going to push these back a little bit while I leave a couple of skewers worth of space for escaping the flare-ups. I want to have my tomatoes in there too. There you go. I could start basting my tomatoes a little bit. See, I'm not putting too much because I don't want this butter to drip too much and cause a flare-up. Just enough to give some flavor to whatever it is I'm brushing. At this point, I'm going to lower the heat a little bit because remember, the chicken, turkey, duck doesn't need as much heat as the beef koobideh, beef and lamb koobideh. So we're going to lower that a little bit and let it cook a couple of more minutes. There you go. So the fat in these kebabs is getting rendered and starting to create some flare-ups. So we're trying to avoid it. Okay, we're about a couple of minutes from this being done. So what we're going to do is we're going to start ever so gently basting the kebabs. Why ever so gently? Because I don't want this butter to exacerbate my flare-up issue. So just enough to give some flavor and color to these guys. You see what I'm doing? Just a little bit. There you go. And then see the tomatoes are starting to, so the tomato is cooking internally. You will get some amount of char on them, but that's just for looks. The inside will be cooked and nice, and you just break it up with your kebab and with your rice or mashed potato or whatever you're eating your turducken with. There you go. So we're going to put some on the other side, and we're about ready to dance here. Okay, just a little bit. So I use a piece of paper towel, clean paper towel. You can use a piece of flatbread, but flatbread tends to fall apart after 1 or 2 skewers. So moving quickly, see, I'm releasing the one end and the other end. Then I grab the whole kebab, move it off and onto the bread so that the juice from the kebab can go down there. Look, another one. See how I'm breaking the ends so that it will give. There you go. Now we're going to put a couple of tomatoes on each end. And again, we put a piece of bread under it. Nuna zir kebab, bread under the kebab, is a delicacy, and people fight for that. And there's stories associated with that, but that's for another show. How does that look? You like it? That's our turducken. Go like so. There is a whole lot of different variations of recipes for this sauce. As I said, since this is for US Thanksgiving tradition, you can use your imagination and go the Thanksgiving route and come up with sauces that match that. You can put a bowl of traditional brown or white gravy next to this. Here it is. Turducken Kabob. Turkey, duck, and chicken. Instead of the saffron rice and tahdig and grilled tomatoes, you could serve this with your traditional mashed potatoes, dressing, stuffing. Anything that you serve with Thanksgiving turkey at home this holiday can be served with this Turducken Koobideh Kabob. It's awesome. Please make this, and when you make it, send pictures to me at my Instagram account at Cafe Bagheri. If you like this video, please like, share with your friends and family. And if you have not subscribed yet, this is a perfect opportunity to subscribe and hit that little bell button so we can keep in touch. Have a safe and wonderful holiday season. Peace to the world, and I hope to see you right here at Cafe Bagheri very, very soon. And I know my camera lady wants to have this bite. Look at that. And that, would you like some? Have some. No?